Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Wake and Jake, and a special edition for all the baseball YouTubies out there, which that's what I like to call people. I've done it. I've brought them together, ladies and gentlemen. Foolish Baseball and Jolly Olive in one YouTube page. Foolish, I'll start with you. Are you getting catty? Are we feeling like what energy are you bringing to the table today?
I think this is a great collab. You've got me, the fourth largest baseball YouTuber, and the third coolest, hanging out with the fifth largest baseball YouTuber and the second coolest.
Hey. Oh, that's high praise. Thanks, man.
I hate that.
Okay. Yeah, you want us to not like each other, and
well,
I don't think that's going to happen.
No, that's not what this is.
I can heel turn.
It's a little bit what it's about.
I do want to, we're going to do some Breakout and Fakeout, which we did last year with Foolish. It was one of our first eps that popped a little bit. And it's just a fun concept, and I don't want this to turn into necessarily knocking players, but it's a lot easier to have a good month and then be not as good at baseball than to have a good month and keep that up, especially with young baseball players. And Jolly Olive, I mean, our tier lists have basically broken the internet. People look at me like I'm a tier list YouTube kid, and I'm like, I still don't know what S tier is, but I like the concept of it. So how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm excited to honestly go over this list of players that you sent me and Bailey, because I've done my best to watch as much baseball as I can, kind of knowing that my team's going to be a little middle of the pack this year. I want to check in. I want to see who has a great year and stuff like that. And this is a good, I think, refresher to like check in at the end of the month and be like, hey, these guys are on pace for, potentially award-winning years, and we have to kind of figure out who's real and who's not, and that's what we're going to do.
It was fun to look back at last year and some of the names that were discussed. Oswaldo Cabrera got brought out. Wow. Josh Outman versus Jack Sawinski. I don't know. I was shocked to see how athletic Jack Sawinski was. I think Outman, I'm not sure how he's doing this year, but yeah, Oswaldo Cabrera versus Joey Wiemer versus Luke Raley was a category.
I forgot about Joey Wiemer.
And then some Josh Young, Geraldo Perdomo, Graham Ashcraft. So I don't know. Fun to look back at, because this isn't the stars either. Like I sent you guys over a list of names, and like Riley Green is on there, and I think Riley Green was the kind of prospect that's supposed to be that guy. I don't know if he's gonna be the guy that he's currently being. I think he has like a top 5 WAR in baseball, but I don't know. Riley Green is looking like who Riley Green's supposed to be. So that's a lot of those guys won't be shout out too much. So I think where I'll start, the place that you guys, when I got my responses from you, the area that was the most different was pitching. And it was kind of up and down the board a little bit. So I wanted to lock in on a couple candidates. And again, I do realize that part of this exercise is ridiculous. But I want to hear the baseball side of it, or what you're seeing that you think they may not begin on this level. So I think I want to start with, because I was debating if he should even go on the list, because maybe I'm biased to this guy. Top pick, also came through the office, nice guy, young and feels like he's getting better. Reid Detmers. Bailey, you kind of used a good check mark system, which I'm going to start implementing next year, and I like the way you did that. You had Reid Detmers, of the couple pitchers we're going to mention, you had him pretty highly rated. Jolly, you had him on your no list. Again, I don't know how hard of a no that was, but Bailey, I'll let you kick off with the why you're on Reid Detmers, and I guess I will tease it a little bit for the people. You had him above Harrison from San Francisco, and there was one other pitcher name I had on there. Was it another young lefty?
Did you have Hicks? Did you want to compare the Giants pitchers?
I had Hicks on there too, which again, you were a yes and Jolly was a no. Mackenzie Gore. That I think you were the highest on Detmers and Jolly was kind of the lowest on Detmers. So, Foolish, start off with the goods.
Well, first of all, Jolly doesn't know ball.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Yes.
I think
We're here.
Hell yeah.
We're here.
I think
Ring the
every
bell. Ring the
disagreement-
bell.
Leaving for a minute.
I think every disagreement should either start or begin with the acknowledgement that the other does not know ball in some sort of way. You do not understand sphere, for example, is another way I could put that. So one thing I was looking at, and is a stat that I really like for pitchers, is in zone contact rate, because you got guys who can get a lot of guys chasing, a lot of guys fishing, and naturally they're going to whiff on those pitches when they do chase.
Okay,
but in zone contact rate I think is pretty predictive, and right now the second best in zone contact rate is a guy who's like very clearly breaking out, is very clearly special, and that's Jared Jones. He has the second lowest in zone contact rate. When he throws in the zone, they whiff. The pitcher with the lowest in zone contact rate right now is Reid Detmers among all qualified starters, and he's made some notable but small changes. He's moved what side of the rubber he's on. I already changed his slider grip. He's getting better locations on his pitches in general. And I mean, because he's lumped in with Gore and Harrison here, and those guys are quite young, we also kind of forget Detmers is young because he's been around for a while now, but he's only still just 24. In terms of called strike plus whiff rate, which I think is a good stat for like sort of this sample of the season, 1 month, he's 14th among qualified starters. He's between Logan Gilbert and Corbin Burns on that. So I feel very strongly about Reid Detmers, and we'll talk about some of the other lefties here, but that's my pitch for him.
It's a strong pitch, Bailey, and I want to acknowledge that it wasn't one of my hard no's. It's more so that I have gotten burned on Angels lefty starting pitchers before, because I was a huge Patrick Sandoval guy, made a whole video about him, really, really liked what he brought to the table, and things for him have not panned out. And I can't speak to the reliability of it, but Baseball Savant has a really cool engine where they basically compare the likeliness of a pitcher to another pitcher just based on pitch mix, velocity, movement. His most akin starter right now is 2024 Patrick Sandoval, the guy who pitches in the same rotation as him. There are things to like about Detmers, though. One thing I noticed when I was just doing a quick brush over on him is that he's throwing his changeup more than ever. Last year he threw it 5.4%. This year he's throwing it 17.3%. So I'm sure that there's some sort of philosophy there and rationale because his fastball did get absolutely hammered last year. And I think that's kind of a general thing with me. Guys who don't have that kind of heater pitch that they can throw for strikes consistently and get results on always kind of scare me away. And Detmers was a guy that was able to do that in the past, but just had a really tough time with it last year. That being said, Detmers had 2 really good months last year where he looked the part and looked like the guy that he was supposed to be, that former first-round pick. And the other months surrounding it, sandwiching it, just weren't up to snuff at all. A lot of walks in those months. So I think the biggest thing for him was, as you said, his in-zone contact rate. Like, he's able to not nibble as much this year. I think his walks are down as well. So I'm curious to see how much it pans out. I think I was more so on the no side because, one, small sample, which I think is going to be a recurring reason with kind of a lot of the players that we talk about. And 2, just a little bit of Angels-itis. Like, I need to kind of see a more consistent season from him. Because I feel like you can point to a lot of different Angels pitchers and like one great month that they had and see the potential from that, but not necessarily believe in it all the way. But he's definitely not one of my harder no's because I could fully see him, living up to some sort of potential this year and carving out a nice year. It's just I've been burned before and I'm worried about getting burned again.
Tell me I don't know ball.
I won't say that to you because I don't fully disagree with a lot of things you said. I will tell you later because I'll get strongly opinionated. But I don't have that strong a feeling on Reid Detmers, and Jake is back from his 2-minute meeting.
Well,
sound like Jolly lost the argument. I don't have strong opinions on Reid Detmers.
Yeah,
I
know.
had some things. That's crazy.
You have to have strong opinions on Reid Detmers.
If you don't have strong opinions on Reid Detmers,
what do we even
what will you stand up for?
Yeah, exactly.
Did we? Please.
So I think I want to address his argument against Detmers was. And it's, I'm kind of with him on this, is that, you can have great secondaries, but if the fastball doesn't play, like your upside is really limited. And I think that allows us to transition to someone who's really known for their fastball in Kyle Harrison. So if you want to recap of the argument, basically I won. So
okay. Jolly.
I made a really cool comparison to Patrick Sandoval. Whatever.
He did a good job.
Thank you.
And I can't stand Patrick Sandoval right now, and I used to love him too.
Jolly 0, Bailey 1.
It's fair. It's fair.
Kyle Harrison. So this one is interesting to me because talking baseball, it's like the best baseball show in the world or whatever. Kyle Harrison, what do I hear? Like, oh, top lefty prospect in the game. This guy, next Mad Bum. Blah, blah, blah. He's 22. And again, with sports gambling being a topic from us being sponsored by DraftKings to BB Day's Ipe situation, Kyle Harrison, I watched a whole start of his on Friday night against the Pittsburgh Pirates because I bet on the game, just straight up. I just had it on my phone, and I was like, I don't know. I'm in on this. And it was an ugly start. There was traffic on the bases every inning. I wasn't super impressed by his off speed. Like he started using it as a get me over strike to start hitters off. He got better as the game went, and like you mentioned with the fastball, Bailey, it was very much like just a lefty sling. Like he could throw it up and away every time, and I think batters would really struggle with it because you kind of can't tell how much it's going to run and where it's going to end up. So I don't know. It's a very interesting case study for me and someone that I talk about on Talkin Baseball, Chunk, if you're talking about the Giants' outlook this year. A guy that's been heralded as a massive prospect. I get a 6-inning sample size from him. That's 6 innings clean, but it actually wasn't pretty. So I don't know. In a way, I'm looking at him like, yeah, this guy's a lefty. He's going to grind out innings, but he'll get it done when he needs to. That guy can pitch, where he was a swing away from having an awful start. So I'm very interested to hear what you guys see in Kyle Harrison.
Bailey, would you like to kick off?
I will start.
Okay.
Jolly, I was flipping through the dictionary earlier today, and I looked up ball knower, and your picture was nowhere to be found.
Insane.
Yeah,
He came so prepared.
So Kyle Harrison, it's about the fastball, right?
Yeah.
As Jake alluded to, he throws his fastball at the major league level this year 65% of the time. It is one of the most thrown pitches in Major League Baseball right now. And he dominated with it in the minors, and that's how he got that reputation as being the top left-handed pitching prospect in baseball. And when he came up last year, you could kind of see why. It's because he throws from a very funky arm slot. His velo isn't that crazy, but his release point is so low. It's about 5 feet, which is well below the league average. And the key was that he's able to throw from that lower release and then put plenty of backspin, get plenty of carry on that fastball, and hopefully throw it high in the zone. It's that flat vertical approach angle. The problem is last year he was inducing like 14 inches of vertical break, which from that release point is pretty good. This year, he's more like 11 to 12. And I honestly think in the minors, with how dominant he was, I don't have access to that pitch data. I bet he was doing better than that 14. So I honestly think the fastball pitch shape is just all out of whack for him right now. And I find that really concerning. They have Snell on IL right now. And so, there's a need for, stability within that rotation. You'll recall last year they had like 2 legit starters down the stretch, and it was just all like, bullpen type games basically. Ryan Walker throws 3 innings and then we turn it over to the bullpen. He's going to have to, in order to fix this, he's going to have to do it at the big league level, it seems. But honestly, if it was a different situation, a better rotation, a better team overall, like I would like that honestly almost would scream like AAA to me, like go figure out your pitch shape. This is your most important pitch. So I'm concerned with him. And another thing I'll compare him on Detmers with is the defense. The quality of defense these guys play behind or have behind them is night and day. The Giants are so improved. They signed Chapman. They signed Lee. Those guys are like legit great defenders of their positions. The Angels defense really isn't that great. So, in terms of run prevention, they may end up doing, somewhat similarly, at least for a smaller sample. But don't forget that Detmers gets not a lot of help, and Harrison's going to get plenty of help between the defense and that ballpark.
So part of your argument kind of sounded like you liked him a little bit, but I understand where you're coming from with just his hit ability. Here's what I'll say. So part of the reason why Kyle Harrison was on my like list, whatever we want to call it, make it, breakout, whatever, is that I got to watch him pitch, and I had a really good time watching him pitch. I think my viewing experience was different to yours. He is not close to the comparison that I'm making yet, but there are parts of his body of work that really liken his approach to someone like George Kirby. The guy is living in the zone a ton. He trusts his fastball a ton. He's a pinpoint control kind of guy. He has a top 10 lowest walk rate in baseball right now at 3.7%. And Bailey, every year I get played by vertical approach angle. I'm never going to stop getting played by it. I'm going to continue to fall in love with that stat because I just think it makes the fastball so impressive when it's thrown from a lower plane. It's why I picked Christian Javier last year and got burned. It's why I picked Freddie Peralta this year and could potentially get burned again. But right now, Kyle Harrison sports one of the lowest vertical approach angles in baseball, negative 4.1 degrees on his fastball, and I just think that'll really help it play in the long term. I know what you were saying about the shape of his fastball right now. It's very hittable. But I just think the guy's 22 years old. I think the velocity will continue to improve. I think he sat like 93.6 last year, 93 this year. So I'm curious to see what the true velocity is there. But again, it does come down to, can you develop a secondary that you trust? Because he kind of throws all three of them I guess the slurve and the changeup much more, but not confidently compared to his fastball, which is at 65.4%. It's going to be about developing that secondary pitch and managing contact. And like you said, the Giants defense can really help out in that department. I don't think he's ace caliber yet. I think the Giants can rely on other guys in their rotation, probably another one that we'll talk about in a little bit. But I like a lot about the specs of Kyle Harrison. I do think he'll improve upon, what has been a lot of hard hits against him in April. I just think it's a little bit of growing pains.
Damn. Dunked on like that, foolish?
I will say, with regards to the vertical approach angle, I could have an awesome vertical approach angle.
Yes,
I'm short. I could just throw the ball low or release the ball low and throw it high. That's all you have to do. So I think for me, it's like you have to get the vertical movement behind that pitch in order for it to really mean something.
Which he did have at some point.
He did have that, but he doesn't have it this year. Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see because, again, watching it, I used to get nervous about doing like the MLB scout type stuff because end of the day I don't know enough, but also at the end of the day, like, who cares a little bit? Like, when Oswaldo was awful last year, it's always the Yankees. When Oswaldo was awful last year, it's like, well, I still like his swing. He can play every position. That if he can be a league average hitter, like, I think that's in him somewhere. For Kyle Harrison, with that fastball, it's currently a step up. Like, if he can do anything else, whether it's get back to his fastball being better, learn how to throw his slurve better or changeup or whatever it is. He navigated a Pittsburgh lineup that I'd have to get in the stats a little more, but I know Key Bryan versus lefties and Brian Reynolds versus lefties. I think they had a right-handed hitting lineup that, again, for Kyle Harrison was tough to navigate. He navigated well on that night, and I'm gonna like to think someone that a lefty pitcher with decent arm talent and a good fastball. Maybe he knows how to pitch a little bit. Or we could be coming up for air in a couple months, and it's like, hey, Kyle Harrison, figure something else out, dude. And that's kind of the beauty of baseball. Look at, last time. It won't be the last time. Carlos Rodon is like pitching now.
It won't be the last time.
Carlos Rodon is pitching now, which kind of blew my mind because I was standing at the table being like, hey, man, this guy was one of the best pitchers in baseball going fastball slider 95% of the time. Why do the Yankees need to change him? He's like changing and he kind of needs it. So Kyle Harrison and every baseball player runs into this.
22 years old.
22. I'm rooting for him. Learn from Snell. Learn from Robbie Ray.
Robbie Ray.
God, those Giants, they're running a pretty weird out-of-the-park baseball team right
They
now.
are.
They really are. I guess we'll keep it Giant focus for now. Jolly, I will let you kick off because this one seemed. I almost didn't put this one on the sheet because it felt like a layup. Everyone has always loved Jordan Hicks' arm talent for obvious reasons. Casually pumping 104-mile-per-hour sinkers. I hope it's a time we look back on baseball and we're like, what was happening for a little bit?
Why was this allowed?
I don't think it's going away, but now the fastball is sitting at 96 miles per hour. He's throwing that 51% of the time. The baseball savant is very red. That little, what is it, a split change he's throwing? A little split finger. Looks like kind of a wipeout pitch. He's setting career highs in strikeouts. And here's Happy Grape saying he's not about it. Jolly, what's that about?
I have to be a hater. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I think that Jordan Hicks.
Let the anger fuel you.
Right now, Jordan Hicks is one of the most impressive pitchers in baseball.
Okay.
But 3 months from now, I don't know where he'll be because he's never pitched 3 months of baseball.
Okay.
He's never pitched that inning total for a starting pitcher. The highest inning total of his career was in 2018, 77 and 2/3. That was a long time ago. That was a very different Cardinals team.
Is that a 77?
77 and 2/3. Yeah. I think in the minors he got maybe a little bit higher. I'll double check that really quick. Yeah, he has an 105 in the minors the year before. So that, as homer as this argument might be, that is the argument I'm making, is that the Cardinals have tried this experiment before. It has worked in spades, but something always bottoms out with Jordan Hicks. Now, the velocity dip is the most interesting thing because it's very obviously purposeful, taking him down from 100 to 95 and making him some sort of sinker ball or ground ball pitcher. His launch angle is also the highest it's ever been. It's at 7.1 right now. It's never been higher than 1.4, which I did find a little interesting. Again, small sample size. It's only been 6 starts. So outside of that, you can't argue his stuff. You can't argue the velocity. I think that those things will continue to play. It's just, can Jordan Hicks make 5 starts a month for a Giants team that absolutely needs him to, because they're having rotation problems right now with the question marks around Kyle Harrison, with Snell's injury, Robbie Ray out until July. I don't know. But if he does, I'm fully prepared to eat crow because he looks very impressive right now. It's just I haven't seen it yet, so it's hard to visualize.
Okay. Bailey?
Listen, cheerful cherry.
Peppy pomegranate.
Well, first, I mean, this is something that you wouldn't disagree with me on, but what I'm enjoying about this Jordan Hicks is that even in his days as a reliever, what he does profiles better as a starter in a way. Like, he has like a legit 3-pitch mix.
Yes, I agree with that.
The sinker's legit. The splitter is legit, like Jake said. The sweeper's legit. But what's nice about him is, like, okay, if he was like a prototypical closer, right? Here's a guy who comes in, doesn't get a ton of whiffs, doesn't get a ton of swings and misses, but, racks up those ground balls. That was kind of his game. Brusdar Gratterall-esque, and that's another guy who was seen as a fringy starter at times. And so the what I'm trying to say is, if your closer comes in and he gets through the 9th inning in 25 pitches, because he walked a couple of guys and he struck out the next 3, you don't really care at the end of the day. You're just glad he got the save. For a starting pitcher, that efficiency, that ability to navigate through a lineup, to get those ground balls is everything. And he, as a reliever, has proven he's capable of that, and he's proven to be efficient enough as a starter as well. So that's what I really like about him. And with the innings concerns, like, I mean, I totally get it, but I mean, I think you could say that about literally any single pitcher ever pitching right now. Like, oh, I don't know if he'll make it. I don't know if he'll get to throw 150, 160 innings this year. Well, I could say that about everybody, And so all I know is he's pitching great now. And one thing I do recall, and look, this is totally different for someone who's been a reliever for all his time in the majors. He was a starter in the minor leagues, I will point out. But I remember, after 2020, when everyone had just like a weird shortened year, the way a lot of managers handled it was, they would get, like, I remember Counsell said this explicitly. He said, however many innings they threw in 2020, we'll do that plus 100, So, like, he understood, and those were starters like Burns and Woodruff still, right. But that he understood that you can ramp that up. Look at what Seth Lugo did last year, converting from relief to starting. So again, the injury stuff, I don't know about. I personally don't really speculate about it unless they have just an insane history. But I know Jordan Hicks is pitching great right now, and that also you don't know ball.
Shit. Snuck that in at the
And
end.
he wins at the end.
I was getting comfortable.
Yeah, there's a couple things going on around here because it's the world of pitching right now. When injuries get brought up and you see someone that throws like this, and the Cardinals tried to do the starter thing with him a couple times and it didn't really happen at the big league level. I do think one of the next things teams are going to try is the Seth Lugo, Michael King, Jordan Hicks, where if you're performing out of the bullpen and you have a pitch mix, why not open that road back up again? Even like it'll be interesting to see how the rest of this year goes because I think even if the Giants were to get $120 innings out of Jordan Hicks this year, that's still a massive win with the contract he's got. In their perfect world, they're making a wild card and maybe he transitions to a 2-inning role out of the playoffs to finish this year or something like that. The science of it is something that I should never be speaking on, but I think where I can actually be good is I'm only going to speak on the stuff that I actually think we can use as of now. And in the pitching injury world, I think one of the things proven is that the UCL or everything in here, it's fully developed at age 27. So I think we are going to see a lot of guys, especially younger, take the bullpen route for a little bit and try to save themselves that way, and then make the transition, which that used to be so faux pas in baseball. I mean, Jabba Chamberlain, Yankees, there it is again.
It wasn't the last one.
That I don't know. I think we're going to start to see more of this because people will have adult elbows, and hopefully that can be a solution. For the actual pitching performance-wise, it'll be like anyone. It'll be interesting to see second time through the league. Like, this is a new version of Jordan Hicks. But I also, from what you were saying before, Bailey, the defense behind him, Jimmy doesn't have a poker face. Jimmy was drooling because he was like, wait, they've got Matt Chapman behind Jordan Hicks. Nick Ahmed has been picking it over there. That it's a fun thing that hopefully, I don't know, maybe we're seeing something in baseball where it's like, hey, Jordan Hicks, if you get 2 strikes, punch him out, but let that sinker run because you got fellas behind you.
It's the Giants podcast.
For sure.
Yeah, let's keep it moving to Keaton Winn and Logan Webb.
Okay,
no,
that's fair.
I could talk about Keaton Winn all day, baby.
And that's what I was worried about. That's why we're not talking about Keaton Winn.
Man.
Although all he's been doing is winning lately. There is another win coming up. Tease, let's get you guys aligned for a little bit because there was a couple guys that you both had as breakouts. So this can be the good let's taste some fellas section.
Now I'm going to start being mean.
I
agree
Charlie.
more than you.
Richie Palacios, which couple things in play here. We met Richie Palacios, and he was really nice, which sometimes I put up a reverse bias against. That I was like, I don't know, if this guy is so nice, can he be the 900 OPS guy that wasn't really a top prospect that now the Rays are going to raise with? And I see Rays bullshit every year. Pardon my French. But, we talked Luke Raley last year, that they have now turned into their starting shortstop in Caballero. Yandy Diaz won the batting title last year, and I'm Team Yandy, and he's going to pick it back up this year. But the Rays are going to raise. That I was surprised that both of you had Richie Palacios as breakout. So, foolish if you want to start with Richie.
Yeah, I had him as breakout before the season even. I mean,
flex
I
on
remember
him.
Not sorry to flex. But he was posting this is deep research. He was posting Instagram stories of him in the cage.
Yes.
And he was
His
he was
driveline,
topping his max exit velos from in-game situations, just hitting BP basically. So he was dedicated to adding pop, and he went to driveline, and he's got all the honestly, if you just want to play it by the teams, he has all the makings of a development success because he's former Cardinals outfielder, goes to the Rays. I mean,
that was gonna be part of it. Yep.
I hate to
Wow.
But it's
go
so
along
true.
that sort of.
It's so
but
true.
it's true. It's true. And what's exciting about Palacios is he's always been a disciplined hitter in the sense that he's always had good ratios in terms of his strikeouts and walks. That was a constant through him all throughout the minors. But then when you have a guy who's like that, and then all of a sudden they add power, you just get a really good hitter. You get a really good baseball player. You get, that's what Jose Ramirez did, basically. I'm not saying he's the next Jose Ramirez, but, so I'm really excited about Richie Palacios because it's basically just a story of a guy goes from bad situation to good situation, guy who is disciplined, adds power, and still seems to have that discipline. It seems like a breakout to me.
A big part of the equation here that you built up a little bit, not only is he a former Cardinals outfielder, he's also a former Guardians outfielder, which is also a theme of them just cutting away guys that could easily be part of their lineup, but they're doing fine, so they don't really need him. Palacios, you covered a lot of bases there. He's a guy that had a really good end of last year, and I find myself in the offseason getting caught up on that a lot because it's like, oh, what did they figure out in the final 2 months that made things click when he was going with the Cardinals there? When they made that trade for Kittredge, so far it's working out, but when they made that trade, I was like, this has disaster written all over it. Kittredge, injury guy, hasn't had a full season since 21. Palacios on a verge of a breakout. So far it's going well for both sides, but I really like what I've seen from him so far. It's kind of a little bit what they did with Isaac Paredes, like just hit the ball as hard as you can, like raise that launch angle as much as you can. I think he's up like 7 degrees from last year. The walk is up. The strikeout is also up, which is kind of a common theme with Rays hitters. Like they've been punching out a ton, even Yandy after winning the batting title last year. Just a lot to like. I think Foolish, you hit on most of it there. This one's more of a vibes one for me. It just kind of it feels like it's just gonna click. It feels like it's just gonna work.
Man, I was surprised when I looked at the minor league numbers for Richie Palacios. 288, 392 on base, 839 OPS. So when you mentioned the power side of it kicking in a little more, like that could be a game changer for him. Because if you have enough of the hit tool, you have enough of the on base tool. And I absolutely love the Cardinals outfield tree that's now not with them. Because just a reminder, as this baseball season's getting underway, and it's a lot of like, well, the Cardinals are 13 and 15. Let's see what happens. They're 27th in OPS, 28th in runs. Like the Cardinals would kill for Richie Palacios right now. And yet, no offense to Alec Burleson, but he's currently listed as their starting left fielder.
Get a tank at Citi Field. Good
Alec Burleson looks like an Alec Burleson.
A big boy.
God, good for him. Beebs, what was that?
That was a nice catch.
Dropped coffee, caught it.
Wow, that was sick.
No big deal.
Breakout.
Should have camera switched to that.
All right. Yay, we're happy. Let's get angry again. This is what the people want. In this one, I think statistically, again, how Foolish ranked his chart, I think you guys were the furthest part on Masyn Winn. No Keaton Winn today. Masyn Winn. I'm going to let Jolly go first because he's on the bus. He admitted there might be a little recency bias because he just watched him play his Metropolitans. But what did you see, John?
I mean, the thing that jumps to everybody's mind is that I think he has like the strongest arm of any infielder ever in the history of the sport, which is pretty damn cool. But there's obviously a lot more to the game than just that. You are right, Jake. The Cardinals were just in town, so I did just watch him play. And I follow a decent bit of Cardinals Twitter, and I like to see what they're up to because they do have a lot of exciting young players. There's just sometimes they don't always stick with the team, like we mentioned before. Masyn Winn, it's a tale of two approaches right now. He is red bubble, blue bubble on Baseball Savant if we want to get as surface level as possible. But the red bubbles he has are the ones that I like. Plate discipline. It's something I value a lot in younger players. This guy is another 22-year-old, just like Kyle Harrison. He's 76th percentile in walk rate, 86th in whiff rate, 90 percentile in sweet spot percentage. So pitch selection right now has been going pretty well for him. That being said, the exit velocities aren't quite there. He's not hitting the ball as hard as he possibly can yet. outs above average doesn't like him, which I was a little shocked by because, from the eye test, I had a final verdict of that boy nice at shortstop. But I guess Savant might disagree to a little bit of a term there. But yeah, the biggest things for me is that he's hitting the fastball, which is important. I think if you're not getting blown up by fastballs at a young age, I think that can really translate well going forward. It's going to be a little bit of a second tour around the league, like you mentioned before with one of our other topics. Can he adjust? Will pitchers figure out how to approach against him? Will they throw him fastballs less? That's all going to be part of the equation there. But I do like what I've seen from Masyn Winn so far. I just think that the good eye and the good defense is enough for me to kind of buy in a little bit of stock for him at a young age and see how he develops. And he's also just a kid that the Cardinals have been very excited about for a while, and now he's finally here.
Folkish?
He's about to go in.
No, I mean, what's sad is I pretty much totally agree with what he just said. He's taking sort of a long-termist view of Masyn Winn and who he is, which I'm totally down with that. But I mean, if we're talking short-term, let's say from May onward to the end of the 2024 season, this guy, this year he's just BABIPing. I mean, I think anyone can see that so far. He has 800 OPS. He's just BABIPing right now. But what for me offensively, which is what I'm focused on because I think we know what the defensive talent is.
Right.
He has 160 career batted balls at the major league level and 2 barrels. So for me, I'm kind of a barrels are king guy. You can get away with a lower barreled ball approach if you have excellent ratios in strikeouts and walks. He doesn't really have that. He's pretty average-ish in both those areas. So offensively, I'm just not really excited by him right now. He's very young and he can develop that aspect of his game, but the defense is legit. Do you remember that thing last year where, I mean, maybe it was overblown, where Justin Turner made some comments a little bit snarky about his arm strength because he was lining it up in the minors, and he's talking about how it's not a big deal. It is a big deal because when you have that arm strength, that means you can take that extra little fraction of a second to really make the play, make sure you receive the ball cleanly, transfer cleanly, because if you have the arm strength, you can still throw out the runner by half a step. So I love that for him. But offensively, not excited. No barrels this year. I'm not going to get excited for no barrels.
In that, I want to build off the arm strength thing you mentioned there. In the final game of Mets Cardinals, I think they had a prime opportunity to win the game. They threw up a scoreless 10th. They had the runner at third, I think, with 1 out, runners on the corners. And DJ Stewart, not a fast runner, but hits a pretty slow ground ball, a very beatable ground ball. And he gets the feed, and I got to see his arm at full strength, absolutely whipping it. And that throw almost won the Cardinals the game and got them a sweep because they scored a run the next inning. That's the kind of difference that defensive talent can make in, just one micro game situation. But honestly, I didn't know that barrel stat. That's pretty alarming.
It's
pretty alarming.
Late
has he admitted defeat? He's too gracious in defeat.
You know where I'm at. It's a future scope.
I was gonna say
we agree long term, but short term we may have some.
I don't think he's an all-star this year.
It seems like Masyn Winn loves BABIPing, but he's got a barrels problem. You know what I'm saying?
That was pretty good.
So
that was really good.
Now bring up a Yankee.
I'm rooting for him. Well, it's funny you say that. No.
Tell me about Oswald Peraza.
Well, the arm strength.
I'm a little bit rooting for Masyn Winn. Just because after that Cardinals outfield thing, they kind of need a win.
Yeah.
Ironically, his last name, and currently 3 wins in baseball. We mentioned Keaton, also Cole Winn. Nobody related. WINN. I don't know. That's something. I'm rooting for Masyn Winn. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of prototypical kind of light hitting shortstop. He doesn't have the home run this year. I'm interested to watch. I don't know. I've got a bad feeling that this Cardinals team could be on their last hurrah a little bit, whatever that means for them. And I hope Masyn Winn is part of the solution to the next Cardinals team we're talking about. The arm strength thing, I have mixed results because I was on a Dansby Swanson kind of witch hunt the past couple years of everyone saying that he doesn't have a strong arm, but he's the best defensive shortstop in the game pretty much. After seeing that double play that I watched live, because again, I'm a common ball knower, and I was going to bring that up if Jolly did not.
Whoops.
And the Yankees' middle infield is currently awful at turning double plays. That arm strength should matter. And like you were saying, Foolish, if he can even adapt his game to make the play trust the arm a little more, yeah, he has all the abilities to be a talented shortstop that if you're doing anything offensively, because one more ball-knowing flex, I was watching my Snakes late last night, Kevin Newman. Oh, my God.
He just hangs around, doesn't he?
There's a reason why. He was making plays at shortstop that if you showed a new fan one game and you were like, hey, who are some of these best players on the field? Snakes, Dodgers, they'd be like, oh, I don't know, that Ohtani fella, and that's without knowing he hits. Mookie probably gets a vote. Dude, Kevin Newman made a couple plays at short that I was kind of personally mad at him because he was part of a Cole Tucker issue in Pittsburgh for a little bit, and then he basically absolved everything in 2 plays. It was kind of sick.
They should have just brought back Nick Ahmed if we're going to do this. Come on.
Don't.
Come on. He looks disgusting in a Giants uniform. It makes no sense.
Blaze Alexander, bro.
Can't feel
And
that.
No,
well.
that's an arm.
And Jordan Lawler.
It's an arm, but he's having trouble.
They've got to start winning some games in the desert, by the way.
It's getting a little late.
Before it gets
Also,
dark
I
early.
have to get this in. You mentioned the third win,
Okay.
Cole win. I had never heard of him. Just hopped on his page. 6 no-hit innings for the Rangers this year. 1 walk out of the bullpen.
It's
crazy.
That's the Rangers factory. I have one other hitter that you guys were opposite ends of the spectrum on. Foolish, I don't think you were as passionate about this one, but it's a player that turned heads. I know, again, kind of mocking me and Trev on Talking Baseball. Look at Michael Busch, dude. This guy's just hitting homers. He was a prospect for the Dodgers, and now he just hits homers for the Cubs. Subscribe, Talking Baseball, for that content. You guys ended up on the opposite sides. Bailey, I'll let you start.
Why don't we let Jolly start? Because I think I've been going first a lot.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Scared.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
scared.
a little bit of fear.
You're
Point
scared.
Jolly.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I don't even have to explain now. He's just scared. It's good. No, it's a little bit a mixed bag here. There's a lot to like in his peripherals. He's hitting the ball really hard. I think we're all a little confused when the Cubs made that trade in the offseason because there were so many years of like Matt Mervis hype, and I thought that there was like a different plan going forward. Instead, it's Michael Busch, and he's gotten off to a really nice start. But I do think the guy is a defensive liability, and I do think that matters in this equation. It's obviously a different ball game for first baseman. They play by different rules, and that's okay. But he's a big-time strikeout guy as well. And, I mean, if you're going to hit home runs, that's not going to matter as much. There's so many different first basemen you can point to in the league that kind of go by that mantra. So as long as he can continue hitting the ball hard, there's no reason to bet against him. I am just a little worried about, how the league will see him on the second time around. I mean, with the Dodgers, there's so much talent on that roster. It's really hard to get any sort of consistent starting role and consistent playing time. Now he's in that situation with the Cubs, and he's flourishing in his first month. I just think we've seen so many first basemen of years past that have come up and have had great spurts, and then their second time around, they never fully get over that hump. So for Michael Busch, it could be a story of a nice late bloomer who finally got an opportunity and really made the most of it on a pretty good Cubs team right now. But I don't really have that belief. That's kind of where I'm at.
I used to be like you. I hated this trade when it went through. I absolutely
Really?
hated it. The Mervis hype. I was actually more of a Patrick Wisdom apologist, if anything.
Sure.
I was like, how much better is this guy than Patrick Wisdom, really? And the prospects that the Dodgers got in return, like Young, a lot of upside. From what I've seen this past month, I've sort of flipped on that. I mean, I think the Dodgers will probably develop those prospects fine enough, but Busch looks pretty legit. I think the Ks will come down a little bit, just historically based on what he's done in the minors and some of his contact rates. But I mean, if you want to compare him to like his cup of coffee with the Dodgers last year, it is night and day. I mean, with the Dodgers, he hit twice as many ground balls as fly balls. With the Cubs, he's twice as many fly balls as ground balls, and that's with the same strikeout and walk rate. So yeah, for me, it's like I hated this trade, but then, and you're totally right about the defense too. Like he's like they thought maybe they were getting some versatility. He cannot play a position other than first base. He's not
I think,
very
and
good
I think
at
if he's DHing, then like I think I go from no on him to just kind of indifferent. Like, yeah, if he's a DH, I think that's fine.
But this is the opposite of the Masyn Winn. This is just barrels go burr, basically, at the end of the day.
And this is also like a little bit of April Wrigley too. Like usually that kind of kills a lot of Cubs hitters, and he had a really good first month, so that you can kind of swing that way too.
Yeah, like you guys both mentioned, it was an odd trade. It was top prospects that we talk ourselves into, and especially I always take a step back because no one loves them more than the team they're currently on. Like, to have a top 100 prospect and Michael Busch and the numbers he put up at AA and AAA, to see him flipped as part of a roster crunch move for two prospects coming back that, there's just a sniff test that doesn't make sense. You're like, okay, so are those two Dodger players future All-Stars? Like that? How does this magic show end? And then Michael Busch comes out and he has the big first month that it's like, it goes the other way, that I'm looking at his spray chart right now and I'm saying, sleeping Cashman again outside the stadium. Stop bringing up the Yanks. I want to root for Michael Busch. I want to believe. I want to say like, hey, this is a good story of a prospect who put in the time, doesn't get the opportunity till he's 25, 26. It all clicks. He's the Cubby first baseman for the future. After looking at last year's breakout and fakeout list, and like you mentioned with some of the defense, things can get slippery in baseball real quick. This is a team that, like, Seiya Suzuki, who I think we're all stands of on this pod, like, he got benched by the Cubs last year for a little bit because he had like a 770 OPS and was in a funk. Like, if Michael Busch goes into a funk, if you're not playing a good first base, you can't play anywhere else. That's when baseball can get tough on you. And maybe that was the Dodgers equation when they were trading him. We've been laughing at the William Contreras, Sean Murphy A's trade recently because it's tough to go back, and it was like, wait, well, does William Contreras have a position? Brewers catching school, and now it's like, wait, why were the Brewers even involved in this trade? Never mind getting William Contreras. So at the same time, if Michael Busch, who's been looking for a position, can get a little more comfortable at first base, can ride out a summer in Wrigley, you could be talking about a guy in his rookie year having a 30-homer season or something like that. So, Cubs fans, I'm interested what you guys are seeing day in, day out, because I want to root Michael Busch. I guess if I had to put money on it right now, I would lean fake out a little bit just from all the sniff test stuff I said leading up to that.
I think.
Well, so that means Jolly wins because I've seen your DFS rankings, and you clearly know ball.
I mean, again, you mentioned that dictionary you looked up. Hey, I stop the fighting. I don't need this. Most of the episode. Whoa. Watching his two brother in arms go at it. How about this? I'll go open board for a little bit because I sent you guys a lot of names. It was a pretty daunting text. The first time I sent it to Bailey, I copied and pasted from my email, and it didn't space out properly at all. So it was just a bulk text of like basically every young name in baseball. Both of you guys had Ben Rortvedt as Fakeout, which I didn't like. I guess of all the names on the list, because there was about 30 or so, Bailey, if I said, hey, here's 2 minutes on the clock, give one of the guys you either want to talk about in a positive or negative light.
I'm gonna go Stephen Kwan.
Okay.
We've seen what he did as a rookie. He took a step back, but his career high going into this year was 6 home runs, and he has 3 already. And it's kind of a similar story to Palacios. He went through an off-season like bat speed improvement program, And as a result, he's run into a few while still being Stephen Kwan. He still maintains that all the great Stephen Kwan things that make Stephen Kwan Stephen Kwan. If he hits 10 homers this year, his numbers could be just awesome because, he's probably going to walk about as much as he strikes out and he's going to hit for average. So I love me some Stephen Kwan. And, because you gave me a little bit of time, I'm going to go for a surprise fake out, a fake out that is going to blow people's minds considering the start this guy is on. Jordan Westburg, I'm not totally sold. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm not totally sold. Even throughout his prospectum, I would look at it long term and be like, well, gee, if they want to play Mayo and Henderson and Holiday in the same infield, where does Westburg go? Or is Mayo a first baseman or a corner outfielder? Or, and where's Colton Cowser fit into this? My thing with Westburg is just his discipline overall. The whiffs and the chase, they're not that impressive to me. He's 25, which is young, but it's not young like some of these other Orioles prospects we've seen come up. That said, I have him on my fantasy team, and he's absolutely killing it.
I ironically just picked him up too, and I will say, point to Jolly, unfortunately. I mentioned how you made your list, and you had the check mark X mark system. Jolly, I sent it over. And again, I wanted to get guys that you guys were more passionate about. I didn't want to just throw something out there. Jolly sent over a list of guys at the bottom of his sheet that he listed as unsure. Jordan Westburg led the list. Dalton Varsho, Tanner Houck, Bryce Miller, Brady Singer, and Jose Barrios, which I was asking if you guys thought there was another level in there. And now I'm kind of laughing because we live in an area of sports media where, ESPN for years has gone with the first take, battle it out. I almost wish I did this whole segment as the unsure pile, and we all just looked at each other like, I don't fucking know.
Tell me what to think.
I cursed again.
1 hour of shrugging.
Yeah, just talking about Dalton Varsho and be like,
I have no idea. Honestly, the Blue Jays. Why don't I just put them in the unsure pile? All of them. I don't know.
I think, Bailey, the last time, or at the end of last year when we talked, you were on a little bit, this could be the end of the Blue Jays. Is that flag planted, or are you just kind of in the background waiting to see?
I'm quietly waiting for their downfall, but I'm not saying anything yet.
Okay. Jolly Olive, with that big boy list I sent over to you, who's someone that you're feeling a little passionate about?
I want to give Jordan Westburg a little bit of love. He is fourth highest in hard hit rate right now, but I do agree. I don't really know what he is, and he can probably hide in the Orioles lineup. I have to take this time to eat some crow on Alec Bohm because he's off to an amazing start. Yeah. He is crushing the ball. His defense looks like he's sort of going towards the Austin Riley path of getting steadily better every year until he's at a point where he's either serviceable or good. And his walk rate is doubled between years. So not only is he swinging at better pitches, he's taking the bad ones now, which was a big problem for him in the past. So shout out to Alec Bohm. He's kind of carrying the Phillies offense right now. They have like a muted version of Bryce Harper. They have Schwarber doing his thing, and then everybody else is struggling. So they're not where they are without him. So I definitely have to eat some crow there. Bailey, I want to make sure you know this. When we did our left field tier list, I fought tooth and nail to get Stephen Kwan up the tier list. These two did not want him up, so I lost that battle, and he's in the middle now, and I want that grievance aired live on television, so that's what I'm doing. One last thing. Patrick Bailey's really good.
This isn't live or television.
Patrick Bailey's insanely good. He was really good when he came up last year, and then he got figured out a little bit, had a really tough end of the year. I think everyone who was kind of paying attention knew that wasn't who he is, and now he's showing us who he is, which is the promised catcher of the future for the San Francisco Giants. Outside of that, a lot of these names I find interesting. I don't have a strong opinion on a lot of them. I don't really know what the future holds for a lot of the unproven guys, like Wilyer Abreu. I don't know. He's right now, the Alex Verdugo decision looks pretty good by the Red Sox, but I don't know how much that's going to pan out. We'll see. Zach Littell, is he not a reliever? Is he actually a very good starter? Did the Rays work their magic? I don't know. But that's the beauty of the first month of baseball. The possibilities are endless.
Zach Littell, do I have to put him on my Yeah, I think I'm going to add him to my reliever starter list.
Yeah, he qualifies.
Not as sexy as some of the other names.
He
but
was a
Don't
2021
forget
Giants.
Reynaldo Lopez, who we didn't name drop earlier.
My God.
Let's get those.
Doesn't he lead the league in ERA?
Let's get those UCLs healthy and full at 27, and then guys can go do whatever they want.
The Braves
Yeah,
are gross.
Reynaldo, I wasn't even going to make him an option just because he's been like
You have to respect it.
the best.
Yeah.
And again, he probably doesn't keep up that pace, but maybe it's some Braves.
Some Braves bullshit.
God,
Sevy's been good.
don't.
All right.
We don't.
I'm
No,
really happy.
no Yankees.
Yankee.
Talk. No Yankees talk, please.
Come on.
Let me.
Severino, he reminds me of Severino when he was on the Yankees.
You know, actually, have you seen
I was watching
Luis?
Severino the
Have you
other
seen
day.
Luis Heel?
The Yankees actually traded Zach Littell for Jaime Garcia.
Wow, everything's
So?
connected.
Let me.
You guys brought up Yanks.
Yeah, I don't. We didn't say nothing. Let me see. Is there any other player that I have to highlight?
Bryce Terang's been really good.
Yeah, I guess I was surprised no one took the bait on Bryce Terang, because even if you don't think he's going to keep up at that level, which I don't think anyone does, he has the speed and defense that he should be able to stick around, and kind of like what you mentioned with Stephen Kwan, and kind of the opposite of the Michael Busch fade. Like, even if Bryce Terang isn't contributing at a high level offensively, he can still contribute in a lot of ways. That I was a little surprised no one went for Terang or Perkins. Little Brew Crew devil magic. Yet at the same time, I very much understand why. Like those guys. I don't think a lot of Brewers fans had either of them on their bingo card of having like a good month.
Perkins
Never mind.
has one WAR this year.
Dude, Perkins is batting in the middle. He's batting 5th for the Brewers.
Just like this went completely under my radar.
It's baseball's a sick sport, man.
It's too many guys.
And you guys have become some of the YouTube icons of this sick sport. So I'm happy I got to bring you guys together. Foolish, thank you. Is there anything we need to hype? I know the out of the park baseball. We were talking about that before the program.
Yeah, let's hype that. On Foolish Bailey, I've started my out of the park baseball playthrough. It's actually how I started. My origin story as a YouTuber, probably, I don't know, 6 years ago or something like that, is out of the park baseball tutorials followed by a series. Right now, I have taken over the Oakland A's. John Fisher came begging to me, please, 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 I've changed my mind. Let's keep the A's in Oakland and let's try to build a winner. And that's what we're trying to do over on Foolish Bailey.
Jolly, what do you have to hype?
Go watch Bailey's new video on Adam Dunn. I liked it a lot. He
my
made
God.
himself watch Adam Dunn's defense for a long time, which I would never do to myself, so props to him. Go to Jam Baseball. There's a new trivia video every weekday, Monday through Thursday. We do drafts every Monday. Jake did really well in the one that came out yesterday. I looked stupid. So if you're into that kind of thing, go watch that. If not, I got a new video on my channel every Saturday.
And we'll be in Baltimore
We will.
tomorrow.
First place O's, baby. Let's get
Stop that. Stop
Birdland.
Today as you're hearing it.
Why not?
Boys, thank you. I hope there's some baseball geeks that really getting their quote-unquote jollies off to this one. Make sure
grapes.
everyone subscribe. We just hit 18K subs. How about that? Just talking baseball into a mic, pretty much. Shout out to King Beebs. And Wake and Jake is now a production of Dan Patrick Productions, John Boy Media.
I forgot about that. I should have brought that up at the start of the episode. Does that mean I get to meet Dan Patrick?
We could set something up.
Yes.
And Workhouse Media. We just a little teaser. I guess it's going out today. We talked to Dan Patrick for the first time.
Oh.
So I'd assume that's
It's like right before this.
I assume they're not banking that.
You guys had a bunch
I would
of
assume that either came out yesterday as you at home are listening to this, or comes out today as you at home are listening to this. Don't know.
Do you guys just have blind meetings before this?
Every meeting is.
I don't know.
meeting.
I don't like
just
your
a
meeting life.
Just to be clear about when we're recording this, we recorded this on August 3rd, 1997.
That's right.
Bookmark it. Subscribe. Thank you, everybody.